Welcome to Cybersecure, your go-to destination for all things cybersecurity. Subscribe to our channel, stay safe and secure in the digital world. One of the myths about phishing attacks is a belief that phishing attacks are a thing of the past and not a current threat. The reality is that phishing attacks continue to be a serious threat, and attackers are constantly evolving their techniques to stay ahead of defenses. Here are a few examples to illustrate this, including COVID-19 related phishing attacks, credential theft and voice phishing. COVID-19 related phishing attacks. There was a surge in phishing attacks related to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Attackers sent emails that appeared to come from reputable organizations with information about the pandemic or advice on how to stay safe. These attacks demonstrate that attackers are quick to capitalize on current events and trends to trick victims. There have been numerous real-world examples of COVID-19 related phishing attacks. Here are a few examples. The first example of COVID-19 related phishing attacks is the WHO phishing scam. In 2020, attackers launched a phishing campaign targeting individuals and organizations worldwide. The attackers sent emails that appeared to come from the World Health Organization, WHO, offering information about COVID-19. The emails contained a malicious attachment that, when opened, installed malware on the victim's computer. Another example of COVID-19 related phishing attacks is the Zoom phishing scam. In 2020, attackers launched a phishing campaign targeting users of the video conferencing platform Zoom. The attackers sent emails that appeared to come from Zoom, informing the recipient that their account had been suspended due to a violation of the platform's terms of service. The email included a link to a fake login page that asked the victim to enter their Zoom credentials. The last example is the COVID-19 relief phishing scam. In 2020, attackers launched a phishing campaign targeting individuals and organizations that were seeking COVID-19 relief funds. The attackers sent emails that appeared to come from government agencies, offering information about relief funds and including a link to a fake website that asked the victim to enter personal and financial information. These examples demonstrate that attackers often use current events and news stories to craft phishing attacks that are more likely to be successful. Another than COVID-19 related phishing attacks, credential theft is a common goal of many phishing attacks. Attackers may use stolen credentials to gain access to sensitive data or to carry out further attacks, such as ransomware or business email compromise. As more and more people use online services, attackers are constantly adapting their tactics to steal usernames and passwords. There have been numerous real-world examples of credential theft attacks. Here are a few examples. One example of credential theft is the LinkedIn data breach. In 2012, LinkedIn suffered a data breach that resulted in the theft of 167 million user credentials. The attackers used a combination of social engineering and brute force attacks to obtain the credentials, which they then sold on the dark web. Another example of credential theft is Yahoo data breaches. In 2013 and 2014, Yahoo suffered two separate data breaches that resulted in the theft of more than 3 billion user credentials. The attackers used a combination of techniques, including phishing attacks and malware, to obtain the credentials. The last example of credential theft is the Equifax data breach. In 2017, Equifax suffered a data breach that resulted in the theft of 143 million user credentials. The attackers exploited a vulnerability in Equifax's website to obtain the credentials, which included names, addresses, social security numbers, and other sensitive information. These examples demonstrate that credential theft is a common tactic used by attackers to gain access to sensitive information or systems. Another than that, voice phishing, also known as vishing, is a type of phishing attack that occurs over the phone. The attacker will often pose as a trusted source, such as a bank representative or government official, and will try to trick the victim into divulging personal information or performing a task. This tactic is becoming increasingly common as more people rely on phone and video calls for remote work and communication. There have been numerous real-world examples of voice phishing, also known as vishing, attacks. Here are a few examples. One example of voice phishing is the Microsoft tech support scam. In this type of vishing attack, scammers call individuals and impersonate representatives from Microsoft or another technology company. They claim that the individual's computer has a virus or other issue, and offer to provide tech support to fix the problem. The scammers then request payment for their services or request access to the individual's computer, which they can use to steal sensitive information. Another example of voice phishing is the IRS phone scam. In this type of vishing attack, scammers call individuals and impersonate representatives from the Internal Revenue Service, IRS. They claim that the individual owes back taxes and threaten legal action if payment is not made immediately. The scammers typically request payment via wire transfer or prepaid debit card. The last example of voice phishing is the bank phone scam. In this type of vishing attack, scammers call individuals and impersonate representatives from banks or financial institutions. They claim that there is an issue with the individual's account, and request sensitive information such as account numbers, social security numbers, or passwords. The scammers may also request that the individual transfer funds or make a payment to resolve the supposed issue. These examples demonstrate that vishing attacks are a common tactic used by attackers to gain access to sensitive information or systems. Overall, phishing attacks are a current and ongoing threat. Attackers are constantly adapting their tactics to stay ahead of defenses, and it's important to remain vigilant and aware of the latest phishing tactics. To protect yourself, it's important to use multiple layers of protection, including antivirus software, firewalls, and secure passwords, and to be wary of any unexpected or suspicious messages you receive. We hope you found it helpful and informative. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, share and subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video on Cybersecure.